Okay, good afternoon, and welcome to this lecture, which is meant as an introduction to our readings in CVSP 201 for this fall semester. This is a general introduction. First, I'll introduce you and discuss with you. Please stop me anytime you have a question or you want to say something, okay? Just raise your hand, stop me, and let's try to have it a little bit as a conversation, if you want, okay? So the lecture is meant as introduction, generally first to CVSP. What is CVSP? What do we do in CVSP? What do we expect from you to do in CVSP in order to prepare yourselves for the readings and for the class sessions? As you notice, the first page of the handout reminds you of the CVSP requirements and how to choose your two required courses. Should you have further questions, please either consult with the AUB director or check with CVSP department. Your professors would help you as well, okay? CVSP department is in Nicely, over the bridge, yani the other building of Nicely, west building, looking over the Mediterranean. It's in Nicely, room 308, if you want to check for anything. Now, CS is a program about great books. Actually, in many universities in the world, it is named, the program is called Great Books. So what are great books? Can you help me? Heavy books, thick books. Any idea? It's very simple. These are the books that great minds have written. These are the books about great ideas, ideas that has fashioned human thought throughout the centuries and cultures. So this is why we call them great books. Of course, each and every book belongs to a certain civilization at a certain point in time, okay? So what we do is a sequence. We start in CVSP 201, introducing you, reading with you these great books. Not all the great books, by the way, okay? There are many, many, many great books in different cultures. We don't read all cultures. We don't read great books from different languages and cultures. We don't do Sanskrit. We don't do Egyptian, for example. We don't do other cultures as well, Buddhistic, Chinese, what have you. Mainly what we do is Mediterranean, because this is the encounter, this is one of the spaces of the oldest civilizations, one. Two, this is the encounter space between basically European Western and Islamic Oriental, okay? Islamic Christian Oriental as well. So it is a space of encounter. معناتها we are restricting ourselves to some cultures, in some civilizations, some great books in some civilizations, okay? And we've divided them over 4 courses, CVSP 201 over 204. Accordingly, these books, because they are great books, they speak to our reality as human beings and to our existence today, and they open up venues for questions which are relative to our being in the 21st century. Yani whether we read Gilgamesh, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Gilgamesh, or the Socrates, or the Plato, or the any other one of the great books, these books pose questions that are still very, very much relevant to us, to our being today, to our existence today as human beings in the 21st century. Now, what do we do in CVSP? In all courses of CVSP, this does not want to move. So these are what is a classic, by the way, texts that have a permanent significance for generations of readers, great books or classics. They influence great minds and shaped cultural heritages throughout the centuries. They speak to our reality, as I've just mentioned. Now, there are certain texts that have possessed the test of time. Yani these are texts. A classic or a great book is a text. I'm not going to read from this. Just have a look. You have it on your handouts as well. Let me continue. So what do we do in CVSP courses? Basically, we read. Our role is that of a midwife. The simile of a midwife, we're going to encounter it, to read it in one of the books by Socrates, the Greek philosopher, okay, before Christ, some 400-500 years before Christ. A midwife, okay, the wife that helps us bear children, get the children, who facilitates the communication process with the text and helps in the birth of ideas on your part through discussions and argumentation. So basically we read. Our role here is not to lecture. We lecture once a week, you hear a lecture. But during the class sessions, during the meetings, we want to open up discussions with each other and with the teacher who is there, whose role is only the role of a midwife. How do we read? First, let us keep in mind that our readings are of limited range, something or somewhere between 20 pages to 30 pages per week. And this is not much at all. Well, this is part of the training, part of the skills. CVSP is about skills, writing skills, reading skills, discussion skills. And of course, we do the skills through being introduced to these classics, to these great books. So 20 to 30 pages is not much at all. If you now finish school here and you join any other school in the world, you will find out that you need to be trained to read at least 100 pages a week and 1 or 2 chapters of a book in addition, okay? So this is part of your training, one of the very simple skills. In order to enjoy the great texts we are reading and to make of our reading experience a productive and interactive activity, I suggest that we have a look at the text before coming to the Monday lecture. This would help us have a kind of a foretaste. Yani, during the weekend, just take half an hour, have a look at the reading, the 20 or 30 pages, look, okay, just very quickly, just to have a taste. If you have time to read, this would be excellent, and this would be the first encounter with the text. We need more than one encounter with any text in the world, okay? The same thing we do with our friends, okay? With your friends, with life, anything in life, you need encounter. So we need to encounter the text more than once. Keep in mind, we read these texts only for 1 week. Yani, if you miss the reading of that particular week, you've missed the reading, and this would have implications on your understanding as well as on your grade, if you care at all for the grade. You shouldn't. So the lectures that we do are meant to introduce the text. The lecture I'm giving now, and any lecture you are going to hear throughout the semester, these we call the Monday Common Lecture. This is in order to contextualize the text, situated in its cultural and intellectual milieu, address the main ideas in the text, and raise questions about the significance of the text. So the lectures are meant as well to make us, and this is another skill, concentrate. The ability to concentrate for 40, 45 minutes, understand what's being talked about, take some notes, and be able, by the way, when you finish the lecture, if someone asks you about the lecture, you should be able to give an answer. Why? Why not? Actually, it's part of the skills, and it's part of things that you are going to need in life. Okay, يعني now finish school and go to Dubai or to China or to India or to the Gulf or anywhere you want, okay, or Europe or the States, working in any company, okay, or any job, be it business or be it intellectual or be it economics or be it شو بعرفني عم بتبيعوا anything in the world. So what do you do at the end of the day if your boss comes to you and tells you, hey, there's an important conference now in 2 hours. I don't have the time to do it, okay? Please take the plane, jump for 2 hours flight, attend the conference that for me, and tomorrow please brief me about the conference. And she doesn't tell you anything more than this. What are you going to say? Hey, I'm not trained for this. You lose your job, okay? you know, the job market is extremely competitive. And nobody cares, neither for me nor for you, okay? There are 100 people waiting in the line to take your job. So if you say, I'm not trained to do this, bye. You just do the job, as simple as that. And you know the globalized, international, very aggressive market. So it's part of your training to be able to sit, concentrate, okay, not stare at me with open eyes, try to take some notes, على PC أو يعني whatever you have, or if you write, I still write. And if you go out of the lecture room, someone asks, what was the lecture about? You should be able to have the lecture structured in your mind and the basic idea structured. This needs training. I'm not telling you you do this now, today. But supposedly, after attending 2 courses in CVSP, as well as courses that offer general lectures, this is your training at AUB. It's a very valuable training, okay? So this is why we have the lecture, introduce the text, contextualize the text, prepare you for the text, bearing in mind that you have, over the weekend, at least have had only a flirting look at the text. I'm not following the lecture here. The slides are always helpful, I suppose, if not, just disregard them. So these are still why do we read, okay? To develop culture of debate, which is at the core of critical thinking of academic life. By the way, by reading and discussing, coming to the class sessions, discussing, opening up a discussion, having different opinions about the discussions, and it's not a free discussion. It's a discussion about the reading that we have in front of us. معناتها readings of great importance, as we said, which are relevant to us. So this is part of the culture. And as well, I told it a culture of tolerance, which we need very badly today. We read other culture. We read other people's minds. We're going to see we're reading polytheistic texts. We'll see in a minute what does it mean, polytheistic and monotheistic. We're reading about Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. We are being introduced to other minds, other cultures. And this is part of the, if you want, the culture of tolerance, okay, that we want us all to have when to be trained in. One is trained in a culture of tolerance, to accept the other. So this is part of our mission at AUB in general, and specifically at the Civilization Sequence Program. Slide 5, actually. Now starts the real introduction about CVSP. The other one was an introduction. Now I'm trying to introduce the readings we are doing this semester. So we said civilizations. Please keep in mind this very important differentiation in a certain sense, okay, between civilization and culture. Try to Google this before you go to your next session, and I think one of the questions that we are going to address throughout the semester, especially the first 2-3 sessions, is this differentiation. What is a civilization and what is a culture? When we talk about culture, we talk as well about nature. So this move, okay, from nature into culture. Okay, so as if culture is something opposed to nature. Is it so, really? Okay, keep it in mind as well, and let us discuss these questions and other questions, of course, in our sessions throughout CVSP, not necessarily now, but to try to do your exercise by reading, especially by reading the first text. The first encounter would be something between nature and culture. Okay, the first text comes from Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is the old Greek word for the land between the 2 rivers, بلاد ما بين النهرين, okay, دجلة والفرات, nicht? This is the Tigris and the Euphrates river. يعني هذا الفرات, هاي دجلة. We're fighting Daesh in this area today, uncivilized, against culture and against civilization, okay? So we start from the point where these savages, barbarians, have started, okay? The first culture started there. So Mesopotamia, the land between the two rivers. As you see very quickly on the plan, there used to be many old civilizations at that point. We have Sumer, Babylonian, and Assyria. Assyria gives the name for the whole of what we call Syria today, okay? Babylonian, we know it clicks. We know it in a sense. Sumer might be a little bit strange for us. We're not entering into this. We're not doing history. But these cultures or the cultures, the oldest one, go to 3,500 years before our common era. يعني 3,500 years before Christ. معناتها something like 5,500 years before our point in time. The first text ever in the global civilizations, the first written text ever is the text that we are going to start with, the Epic of Gilgamesh, okay? Now, what we offer, starting with the Epic of Gilgamesh, is an exercise. We said how to read. It's a journey. So the ability to imagine the experience of another, I've mentioned this. And the first epic is the epic poem of Gilgamesh. One of the oldest known poems, and a document of genuinely ancient humanism. Underline the word humanism, and I think this will be among the words, the expressions, the termini that we want to discuss as well, okay? In Mesopotamia, and we said this is the ancient Greek, so the text has been written, and I said it's the oldest text, has been written in kunai form. This is a kunai instrument, like صغير مثل السكين, okay, like mesa, like a knife, okay, which they used to engrave on clay on it. So this is the handwriting, and these are the letters of the kunai form. So this has been excavated in the 19th century. A number of places where we found this epic of Gilgamesh. So kunai, we mentioned the kunai. What is an epic? And I'm saying the epic of Gilgamesh, okay? What is an epic? Can you help me a little bit? Hello? We've never heard, yes, please. It's oral, thank you. It's oral first. So this is something to start with, okay? If we were doing the exercise, the first thing we would write now, oral. Oral what? It is not necessarily a true story. So that is a story, okay? Now we said an epic poem, so it's a poem. And what's your name? Ra'ed told us a story. So it's a poem and a story. So we call it a narrative poem. So this is not necessarily a true story. Why not necessarily a true story? Jump over. You're good here, fine. Tap. It teaches, great, beautiful. You've read other epics? No. So this is the first encounter with an epic. But you have a good idea about an epic. So it's not necessarily true. This doesn't mean it's a lie. Mazboot? Not necessarily. He was very precise. It's not necessarily a lie. It has something in reality. And why do we call it an epic? لأنه it's oral. So it's oral tradition. He told us a story. So there's a narration. Usually, this is a narration about a hero. Okay, a hero. Now, what is a hero today in the 21st century? Anything could be a hero. Anyone could be a hero. Okay, يعني Hollywood and Bollywood and it's full of heroes. Come on, are they heroes, okay? So let's pose the question, who is a hero? Or a basketball player, okay? Or a football player for that matter. Or a mannequin for that matter. She's a heroess. So the words are meaning is being, it changes over time. Now, what is a hero? Let's see what is a hero according to the heroic, legendary age. A hero is a human being. But this human being is greater than life. Greater than life, yes. He's greater than life, okay? He or she, usually he, represents all the morality of his culture. So a representative of the history, usually it's not history, this is prehistory. This is the beginnings. So a hero is a representative of the beginnings of a certain culture. He's a human being greater than life, but let's always have in mind, human being, yes, but always at least 1/3 is not human, is divine. There's something divine in this hero. By the way, we're going to deal with the concept of a hero at least for 2-3 sessions, 2-3 readings, okay? So it's important to keep it in mind. So the events and the heroic deeds must have been significant to the audience at that time, okay? At the time of the hero, because he embodies the values of that culture. An epic is inclined to condense, بتلخص, long-term spaces and places and time into short movements. يعني كأنك عملت theater, by the way. It jumps, it condenses, and it is full of emotions. All this reflects the emotions of that particular culture. But as we're going to see, that any particular culture still bespeaks to us today, to our humanity. So this is the first text that we are going to do. Don't forget, this is general introduction. You are going to hear more specific introductions to each and every reading. So an epic is sublime, authoritative. I think you have it in your handouts. Please check the handout. Narrated poem, we've mentioned all this. So let me move with you to epic are mythical in the sense that a myth is, and I would say it's a myth. Some people don't like to use the word myth. By the way, I use the word myth, and I'm using it in a sense scientifically as well for religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, okay? I say a certain myth. This does not mean it is not true. لأنه in the same sense, an epic is a condensation, مظبوط, a moment. By the way, the Old Testament, the New Testament, and the Quran, this is what they do. Condensation. Each moment in these texts, okay, a textual moment opens for us a moment of reflection. Towards the outside, towards the inside, a moment of an encounter. If we don't do this encounter, we are fundamentalists. I'm all fundamentalist, okay? لأنه we don't do the encounter. So this text, even the Old Testament, New Testament, and the Quran, and other religious texts for that matter, okay? They are like epics. They have mythical moments, and don't misunderstand me when I say mythical moments. يعني please keep it in mind, think about it throughout the semester. So this is mythical, and mythical is not something negative, by the way. Now, polytheism, and I told you we'd talk about polytheism afterwards. Polytheism is divided into two parts, polytheism. Can you help me with this? Rami, قلنا لا مش Rami. Ra'id, or anyone else, please. And yeah. Many, excellent. Poly. Give me another word where we use poly. polygamy, for example. So poly means, and refers to many, and theism, it has to do with belief, indeed, indeed. The word theo, the term theo in Greek means the divine. And atheism or theology, okay, then we use the RG, like sociology, biology, what have you, is the systematic study of a certain theme. So theology is the systematic study of the theo, of the divinity. So polytheism is multiple, مظبوط? Poly is multiple, divine, multiple divinity. يعني these are religions and cultures that believe in more than one divine, more than one God, small g. Different gods, okay? In contrast, as we're going to see in CVSP, I know this is what we do in CVSP, in contrast basically to mono, and theism remains theism, okay? So polytheism is the belief in many cultures, many gods, a hierarchical pantheon of gods, each representing cosmic phenomenon. You read it, and I would like to do with you basic things today. A hero, godlike person with many characteristics, handsome appearance, strength, heroes are we did this, and this is the basic two heroes that we are going to deal with. The first one is Gilgamesh from Mesopotamia, something like 5,500 years before our common era. Did he live actually? Supposedly, yes. If not, he's a mythical figure, mythical being, positive thing, greater than life, that represents a certain culture. We're going to see that Gilgamesh and his friend, his buddy, like we say today, hey, my buddy, Enkidu, has done great things, okay, internally and externally. And this is Odysseus, لأنه after we do the Mesopotamia, we move to Greece, to the Mediterranean, Eastern Mediterranean, another cradle of ancient cultures. And we have our encounter with Odysseus. Now, each one of these journeys that a hero undertakes, keep in mind the word journey, and we use the word journey for our courses. Our courses, especially CVSP, is a journey. A journey of readings, a journey in civilization. What is a journey? Can you help me? What do I do on a journey when I undertake a journey? Explore, definitely explore. Have fun and explore. Explore what? Civilization, strange things, new things, encounters, okay? So it is a journey. Now, this is more than a journey, what we do, or what the heroes do, actually, and what we will be doing in CVSP. It's a rite of passage, a rite de passage. Does it cling? Does it ring a bell? Initiation, when I say initiation rite, رائد علي صوتك. Certain action you are supposed to take in order to reach a certain position. Simple, beautiful, at the end of which there is a test. So by the way, many things we do in life, any society, are rites of passage. If I don't do the rites of passage correctly, I don't enter the society. So in ancient societies, ancient primitive doesn't mean at all that's something negative, okay? It's only a descriptive. In ancient primitive societies, as well as our society today, we do rite de passage, rite of passage. Yani, very briefly, okay, at the age of puberty, girls and boys in a certain primitive society would be secluded, separated, and each would undergo an initiation rite. The boys would be sent alone, on their own, in the forest for at least 40 days. Always sacred numbers, secret numbers, 7 and 12 and 40. Usually 40 days. Moses was left in the desert for 40 days. Initiation before he was accepted. Part of the initiation was take off your shoes, you are entering a sacred space. مظبوط? If you read the Old Testament and if you read the Quran. So an initiation rite, at the end of which there are tests, you are supposed to do something. It's a journey. When you do it rightly, you enter a new stage. So at the age of puberty, they send them 40 days in the forest or in the desert or where have you. They should fight for their life. They are not anymore members of the small family. They would become now members of society. If you don't come back from the forest because you were eaten up by the lion or the wolf or any other creature, we care less. And we want in our society well-trained people. Akid, before I send you in the forest, they were being trained for all the time until they reach puberty, somewhere between 12 and 14. It depends on the society. Okay, they undertake this text. So out of 100 children who are sent out, if only 75 come, they are welcome. They are fit to live in our society. In each and every phase of a social life, in a social institution, in any, if you want, contract between people, you have an initiation rite. If I see the whole encounter between Moses and his God Yahweh, okay, as an encounter, I want to understand that there was an initiation rite. So we do it at school. At school, when you finish school, at the end of each course, you have a written exercise or an oral exercise or what have you, okay? And at the end of 3 years, you get your BA. To celebrate this initiation rite, what do you do when you get your BA? When you finish, the hats fly over your heads, mazboot, and you go and dance afterwards. So it is an initiation rite, a ceremony. It could be formal admission to adulthood in a community or one of its formal components in an extended sense. It can also signify a transformation in ourselves and in our society. So what we do in these courses, we ourselves are undertaking a journey, initiation rite, as well as the heroes. So Odysseus has been or will be undertaking a journey, a long journey, exactly like Gilgamesh, and we can compare them together, by the way, okay? Each of them is undertaking more than one initiation rite. Keep in mind, how does it end, the initiation rite, in case of Gilgamesh and in case of Odysseus? Try to compare and contrast. Then we move from Mesopotamia to Middle and East Mediterranean. East Mediterranean, this is Greece. This is the area that we will be dealing with. Now, we start our reading in the epic of, with the Odyssey, by supposedly Homer, if Homer is a real person who's written the epic, or is the epic like Ra'id have told us, is an oral tradition. Oral tradition معناتها it goes over centuries till someone comes down and writes it. And even if it's written down, it goes on both oral and written tradition. It is written down, but it is being told orally as well. Okay? So we move to the Odyssey. Odyssey is around 800 BC. Now, this is very important. We are going to see in Gilgamesh, there is a city. There's a city wall. So these very ancient cultures are very proud of their architecture, okay, of their human endeavor, of their possibility to engage with, to indulge with, to have a dialogue with the gods, okay, in the power to tame nature in order to build culture. And the representation of culture is language, oral tradition, and architecture. The city. So these are small city-states, we call them. This idea of city-state is the polis in Greek. Okay, so we're going to encounter a polis. معناتها Odysseus was a king at a certain polis. Now, even the very terminology term polis is going to have different meanings within the Greek culture. يعني a palace at around 1200 BC, it was written down 800, but the oral tradition goes back to 1200 BC, is different than a Greek palace at around 400, 500 when we read Thucydides, Socrates, and Plato. Okay? So have the idea of the palace, a community of adult male citizens, since women and children as well as slaves are non-citizens at that time. At that time. Today we fought for youth, women have fought for the rights, Mazboot, and are still fighting for their rights in the all over the world in societies. At that time, no. The palace exists for the sake of a good life. Good life شو يعني إنه eat, fill your belly and dance. A good moral life. We are going to see these societies, these ancient societies, okay? In Gilgamesh as well, they have a certain moral code. And if you want to be a member of the palace, if you want to be a member of the city, you have to respect the moral code. So a good life. Direct participation in the making of rational choice. What makes a human being is rational, among other things. This doesn't mean that our mind and reason and rationality can solve our problems. Not at all. It might create problems as well, okay? But this is a very important thing, and to be a member of society, to be able to undertake the initiation rites. A human being fulfills his humanity and excellence, moral excellence, as an active member of the polis. Don't use the word polis for the Mesopotamian culture. It's a Greek word. Many students do this fault. Keep in mind, when we are reading different cultures, to keep the terminology of each and every culture belonging to each and every culture, okay? Please keep this in mind. And you might want to do the exercise to see how does a city-state in Mesopotamia look like. When we finish these two epics, we move to Thucydides. He's a historian. We're still in Greece. We're going to spend all our other readings till the end of semester in Greece. Only one epic is Mesopotamia, and then we move to Greece, okay? So Thucydides. Thucydides has written one of the first histories ever written كمان. كل شيء ever written استاذ اليوم sorry. لأنه written, not the oral tradition, the written tradition, okay? If we want to take a motto, a slogan from his book, when I say Thucydides, it means war is a violent teacher. Don't ask us here in this region. We know war is a violent teacher. Lebanon underwent 15 years of civil war, started in 1975, ended 1990. We want to forget it today. We tend to forget it. Syria is undergoing an awful war today. مظبوط? A barbarian war, as we see it from كل التكفيريين, and we see, I think, at least 30% of our public here are Syrians. Perhaps another 12% are Palestinians as well. يعني all of us have undergone war, and we know what does war mean. We've lost people in war, our beloved people in war. So Thucydides he is writing now a real history about real happenings about the civil war in Greece between Athens and Sparta. Not only the war. After 1 year of the beginning of the war, the plague, طاعون, started in Athens. Thousands of people were losing their health, decaying. Thucydides was describing all this. He is describing the understanding of human nature. Please underline twice, and I hear the word human nature. Is there something as human nature? We have many theories, by the way, okay? The easiest thing today to say, this is human nature. No, it's not human nature like this. Okay? Although I'm using the word, But please think about what is human nature. Throughout CVSP, we are going to think about this. Is human nature something innate? Does it change from society? What is my share in my human nature? Is it something, prerequisite? Is it, okay, but anyway, Thucydides is describing the horrors of war, but he's very clever, by the way. Now we say Thucydides is describing as if a physician, okay, is describing a certain disease. Yani 1, 2, 3, 4, logical, giving examples all the time. And very important, he had access to some of the treaties that were political treaties and political documents, real documents, okay? He took part in the first year of the war, and then he was general at the war, and then he retreated, and he was against war, and he started writing about what was happening on. So we will be reading, while reading Thucydides, please think of wars that we are still living today, humanity is still living today. So in this sense, I said at the beginning, each one of these texts is a great book. It's a culmination, it's a condensation of experience that is still, I'm repeating for the 4th time, relevant to our humanity in the 21st century. Any questions, guys? نعستوا ها؟ هلو؟ ماشي الحال؟ اللي فايقين ماشي الحال؟ طيب. Now, when we talk, and I said the idea of a polis took under changes at time. It's still called a polis, يعني city-state. And I said a polis at the time of Odysseus, something 1200 BC, is different than a polis in the 500. Thucydides is writing around 500, okay? 500 and 400, بكرة نشوف بالتأكيد إمتى, and then Socrates and Plato. We don't have philosophy outside the polis, by the way. Philosophy as representative of human intelligence and reason, okay, should be found in, is only found in a polis. لأنه قلنا the polis is the place where human beings live, civilized human beings live, encounter and use their reason. One of the extremely important institutions in a polis is the amphitheater. Amphi لأنه جايين بهاي الطريقة. By the way, at AUB we used to have, or لا, we've been asking for years and years and years, the administration to build an amphitheater for us somewhere بهالجلول هولي اللي هن نازي عم. It would be beautiful. Amphitheaters, we have many. I don't think in Lebanon we have an amphitheater. Help me, Beit Mary Barki? I'm not sure. But in Syria and Amman and in Turkey, you find many amphitheaters, okay? It's very interesting, an amphitheater. This could take something up between 5,000 to 60,000 the audience. Anyone standing here in the middle, the acoustics are excellent. Yani if I stand in the middle and say a word, the 5, 6, 7, 8 at the corners of the amphitheater, everyone would hear it clearly. So this is a place where theater used to be performed, and we'll see why. It's part of the function of the polis. It's political, and this is where politics takes place. يعني لما نقول democracy, where every man have one vote, they meet here, they discuss here, and you take your vote here. One man, one vote, okay? But this is the place where the polis, the people of the polis is somewhere between 30,000 to 300,000. يعني بعتقد Athens at its heyday was something like 300,000, okay? And I'm talking about men and men only. Free men. بعدين بتزيد عليهم slaves and children and women, okay? Men vote. Men participate in politics, but the whole society with men and women and children participate in the theaters. So what is this tragic play? Tragedy. معناتها till today we use the word tragedy. What do we mean when we say tragic? إذا حدا عم بخبرنا قصة هيك وعم بجلط who is, crying and tell me, oh, he's very emotional. Come, stop this stupid tragedy, we say today, okay? This is not it, by the way. Come on, this one other word, other term that has been moves, takes, and you. Hey, what is a tragedy, Bible? And I'm using the word institution. Institution and initiation, keep it in mind. So tragedy or tragic action and human contentment and goodness. So tragedy talks about the human being and his contentment and goodness. Tragic hero is misfortune, hero in misfortune and at grips with his destiny, Moira. Yani a tragic hero is someone, a human being, who is excellent, fighting for excellence, for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the polis, for the sake of the political order and moral excellence, but he is being at grips with fate. As if history and all the powers that are greater than the society and greater than the human being are standing in his face. Okay? The society is watching him. Who is the society, by the way? This is the audience will play. Some people are helping him. Part of the people who are helping him, and as we are going to see, so it's about excellence and standing up to challenges. This is tragedy and the tragic. Oedipus, we are going to read Oedipus Rex. Oedipus, the king, by the way. And I always, when I give this lecture, يلا عم نخلص بعد having 5 minutes, and it's, as you notice, general introduction. Here we have 2 modern actors playing Oedipus. Oedipus is being played in world theater all over the 4 corners of the globe, in all different languages at all different times, okay? After you read it, if you get interested. And I got very much interested about it. Wherever I travel today and I hear about Oedipus being played, I go and watch it, okay? And I remember once I paid extra on a ticket, وما كان high season, to go to Germany and attend Oedipus there, and it was being played by a very, very well famous player, okay? لكن we have a mask. Tragedy, all the tragic plays are played with masks. Each mask gives a certain character, and it gives a distance, which is very important, by the way, between the audience and the emotions that are being played. We have a choir. عم نلعب هون بتذكروا الامفيثياتر, theater in the middle are the players, يعني ال actors. After the actors, something that we call the choir. بعدنا بنستعمل كلمة chorus. The choir and the chorus today. The choir and the chorus are supposed to represent the people of the city, the elders of the city. By the way, in modern theater, when they play Oedipus or any other play, it is the same thing. While we're reading the text itself, the play itself, okay, the tragedy itself, رح نقرا, it says the chorus, and we read a poem by the chorus. There are something in Oedipus like 11 poems of the chorus. These poems give the point of view of the city. لأن نحن the audience. لأنه نحن we see a tragic hero is doing some mistakes. كمان mistakes greater than life. Again, heroes are greater than life. يعني Oedipus is going to kill his father and marry his mother and bear children from his mother. Unknowingly. It is tragic. What drives him to this? Is it his arrogance? I don't know. I don't think so. Stupidness? What is it then? Okay? So this is the choir, the chorus, that chants, that sings. What the choir sings makes us think about it. By the way, in one of the modern plays that I was at, this one in Germany, that I was attending in Germany, all of a sudden the choir was sitting with us in the theater. It was a small room theater, we call it. It takes something like 150 people. بلشوا ناس يقفوا من بين people started standing up from the audience, and these were the chorus. All were wearing black, by the way. Okay? Representing that the chorus is part of us. The chorus can see from outside what the hero himself cannot perceive, cannot see. The hero is so much indulged in his emotions and in the actions. It's fascinating, by the way. And I'm just giving this example in order. This is the Sphinx, the animal, the human animal, divine animal that Oedipus killed, okay? Because he slayed this animal, action moves in the play. I think the time is going out, but give me 2 other minutes, if you please. And if someone wants to leave because she or he needs to reach somewhere, please do. If you have questions, write me an email. My email is there. One of our latest final readings is Plato's The Republic. Okay, The Republic. Plato is trying, not Plato actually, okay. It's Plato's teacher opening a dialogue. So very important here is the idea of dialogue. Students sitting together, 5, 6 students, by the way. Spending good time, not good time, no, and pleasure. It is pleasure, it's intellectual pleasure. Having a glass of wine and discussing a theme. Sometimes the theme is the theme of love. Sometimes at this point, it was the theme of how do we build a good society. It's a dialogue, okay? So in the sense, Socrates, the teacher of Plato, gives the chance to his students to give their ideas. He hears their ideas. Plato's role is the role of a midwife. معناتها his role first to make sure that you are posing the right question in the right way. يعني you are expressing your mind rightly, not only your mind in relation to the question that is being posed. معناتها Socrates' role is that of a midwife to help you, to help me as a student of life and of philosophy, okay, to see the question rightly, to pose the right questions, and to move from there. When he is sure that all the 5 students or 6 students have reached the same level of understanding the question that they've posed, okay, he goes further. We read further and further and further in order to see if we want to build a utopian society that we think is the good society, how do we build it? By the way, they start from the carpenter and Schuster اللي بيعمل الشوز and till we reach the highest level of the society, okay? The pyramid of the society, which while we are reading, we compare minds, يعني the spirit and society. By the way, very important, وخلصت أنا هون, I'll just add this, what we call eugenics. أنا قلت كلمة utopia. There's no utopia without eugenics. What are eugenics? It is sexual engineering. So we're going to read the chapter in Plato, okay, how to do the best sexual engineering in order to have the best crop of human beings, in order to have the best society. It's a little bit like Nazi. It might be, huh? Think about it. Think about it. It's very important. Oh, by the way, many societies still today, they still do يعني بالpropaganda. The word propaganda we use. Plato tells us you need ideology and propaganda in order to do your eugenics, sexual engineering, in order to reach a good society. This is fearful. Think about it. Thank you, guys. Any questions, just send me an email.